Most people don't realize this, but oil prices are set in US dollars. So what would happen if, for some reason, the oil stopped being priced in US dollars? This video will explore that question and discuss some potential implications. When the oil is not priced in the dollar, there is a significant decline in the dollar's value. The fall in the dollar value leads to an increase in inflation and affects the purchasing power of the consumers. Higher inflation reduces real incomes and spending, which has a knock-on effect on aggregate demand and economic growth. In addition, a weaker dollar makes US exports more expensive and imports cheaper, leading to a deterioration in the trade balance. A decline in the dollar value also makes it more difficult for the US government to finance its debt. Therefore, it is clear that when oil is not priced in dollars, the US economy has several negative consequences. Meanwhile, other countries that use the dollar as a reserve currency would also be affected. They would either have to price their oil in a different currency or suffer the consequences of a weaker dollar. In either case, the shift away from the dollar as the pricing mechanism for oil would have far-reaching implications for the global economy. The history of the petrodollar system. The petrodollar system is a global economic arrangement in which countries trade oil in US dollars. This system began after the Bretton Woods Agreement collapsed in 1971. The agreement stabilized global currencies and created debt repayments after World War II. The system was designed based on the gold standard and pegged different currencies to the US dollar. The Bretton Woods Agreement collapsed in 1971 because the US dollar could no longer be worth more than gold due to high government spending on the Vietnam War. This put pressure on other currencies pegged to the US dollar, causing them to become overvalued. As a result, several countries began to unpeg their currencies from the US dollar, devaluing it. In response, President Nixon suspended the convertibility of the US dollar into gold, effectively ending the Bretton Woods Agreement. The collapse of Bretton Woods ushered in a new era of floating exchange rates. When the agreement collapsed, the US dollar became a floating currency, and oil-producing countries began pricing their oil in dollars. To buy oil, other countries had first to purchase dollars. The petrodollar system has been a major driver of American economic and political power, allowing the United States to maintain a strong presence in the global economy. In addition, the petrodollar system has helped to finance American military spending and bolster the country's position as a world superpower. There are some drawbacks to the system. Oil-producing countries became increasingly dependent on the US dollar. This dependency had far-reaching implications. It made it difficult for OPEC members to pursue independent economic policies, giving the US immense power over the global economy. In the early 21st century, volatile oil prices destabilized the world economy. As oil demand increased, prices rose to unprecedented levels, causing inflation and economic recession. In response, oil-producing countries began hoarding their resources, raising prices even further. This period of instability had far-reaching consequences, affecting everything from transportation costs to global trade. As a result, it became clear that the world economy was highly vulnerable to fluctuations in the oil market. To mitigate this risk, governments and businesses began to invest in alternative energy sources. While the transition from fossil fuels is ongoing, it is hoped that these measures will help protect the global economy from future shocks. Petrodollar recycling. Since the early 1970s, the countries of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries have been recycling their US dollar-denominated revenues from oil exports, so-called petrodollars, back into US Treasury securities and other dollar assets. This policy, known as petrodollar recycling, has helped finance America's large trade and federal budget deficits over the past 4 decades. However, petrodollar recycling has declined recently. Countries like China and Russia have been selling off their dollar reserves, investing in other currencies, and establishing alternative trading mechanisms that don't use the US dollar, which could lead to a more balanced global economy. This shift could have major implications for the future of the US economy. However, the petrodollar system is still in place today, but its future is uncertain. As we enter a new era of economic uncertainty, whether the petrodollar will continue to rise or eventually succumb to another system remains to be seen. What do you think would happen if oil prices were no longer in US dollars? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.